The snake was dead. I want to start there because it is true, and because it is the most dangerous true thing in this entire story. It really was dead. When she found it on the trail, coiled loose against the red rock in the late morning sun, it was not sleeping, it was not playing possum, it was not faking. It was a genuinely dead western rattlesnake, and if you had asked any expert on Earth to look at it, they would have agreed. It was dead. And about 40 minutes later, it bit her hard enough on the wrist to kill her. And both of those sentences are completely true at the same time, and the space between them is the reason I am telling you this. Welcome back to Doomed Departures. What you are about to hear is a composite story. It is built from real venom, real biology, real evacuation timelines, and a real phenomenon that almost nobody knows about until it is far too late to be useful. But the woman at the center of it is an invention, assembled from every person I have watched treat a wild animal like a prop. No real person is named here. She is a dramatization. The snake was a dramatization. The biology is not, and I am going to teach it to you carefully, because the thing that killed her is a thing you very likely believe the opposite of right now. And I would like to fix that before you ever stand on a trail and have to decide. Here is the fact, and I am going to say it plainly, and then spend the rest of this earning your belief in it. A dead rattlesnake can still bite you. A rattlesnake that has been dead for an hour can strike, inject a full load of venom, and kill you, and so can a rattlesnake's head that has been completely severed from its body. That is not a campfire story. That is documented, repeatable, well-understood biology, and it is responsible for a real and specific slice of the snake bites that come through emergency rooms in this part of the country every year. And the people it happens to are almost never the people who stepped on a snake by accident. They are the people who thought the danger was over. This was Red Rock country in June, the kind of desert that is genuinely beautiful and genuinely lethal in the same breath, all slick rock and juniper, and that impossible orange stone. The kind of place people plan a whole trip around and photograph from 100 angles. She was in her 30s. She was there with a hiking partner, a friend, and I want you to hold on to that friend, because the friend is the hero of this story in the specific way that the person who is right and ignored is always the quiet hero of these things. They came around a bend, and there it was, a rattlesnake stretched out across the warm rock, not moving. And her first instinct, the correct instinct, the instinct that keeps people alive, was to stop and give it room. Good. That is exactly right. A rattlesnake on a trail is a wait-and-go-around situation, always. But it did not move. They watched it, and it did not so much as flick. And after a minute, it became clear that this snake was not resting. It was dead. Something had gotten it, a car up on the road, a hawk, another animal. The desert is hard on everything, and it had ended up here on the rock, finished. And that is the exact moment this stopped being a story about a snake and became a story about a phone. Because a dead rattlesnake, to most people, is not a danger. It is an opportunity. It is the shot. It is the thing you cannot get at home. The thing that will make people stop scrolling. A real wild rattlesnake up close. And here it was, safe, harmless, dead, just lying there asking to be picked up. She wanted to hold it, she said so, and her friend said no. I need you to hear how that conversation went, because it is the documented refusal at the heart of this, and it is the part that I cannot get out of my head. The friend was not being dramatic. The friend just had a bad feeling, the ordinary animal wariness that most of us are born with and some of us photograph our way out of, and said something like, "Do not touch that. You do not know. Just leave it." And she laughed in the way people laugh right before the worst moment of their life. And she said it was dead. Look at it. It is completely dead. And she picked it up. There was a version of the next 10 seconds that did not end anyone. I think about it more than is healthy. She had already won the argument. She could have crouched beside it and gotten her photo from a foot away, close enough for any lens, and it would have looked exactly as impressive and she would be alive. The danger was never in being near the snake. It was in touching it, in bringing warm skin inside the reach of that head. She did not need to. Nothing about the shot required it. But there is a pull, once you have decided a thing is safe, to prove how safe it is, to go all the way, to pick it up and drape it over your shoulders and make the picture that says, "Look how brave, look how close, look how unbothered I am." She reached for it out of the same confidence that had made her right about the live snake. And confidence is a single thing. It does not come in two flavors, one for when you are correct and one for when you are about to die. It felt identical both times. She was right that it was dead. She just did not know what dead means for a rattlesnake, and almost nobody does. So let me tell you, because this is the science, and the science is the whole story. A rattlesnake is not built like us. We are warm-blooded animals with brains that run the whole show and shut the whole show down more or less at once. A snake is a cold-blooded, ancient, decentralized machine, and its strike is not a decision. It is a reflex, a loaded spring, a piece of wiring that lives in the nerves of the head and the front of the body and does not need the brain to be alive to fire. Heat-sensing pits along its face detect a warm object nearby, and the strike mechanism answers automatically, the way your knee jerks when a doctor taps it, except that this reflex ends in two fangs and a venom gland that a dead snake has no ability to hold back. In fact, it is worse than a live bite in one specific way. A live snake can choose to deliver a dry bite, a warning with no venom, because venom is metabolically expensive and it would rather save it for food. A dead snake cannot choose anything. A dead snake gives you everything it has. And this reflex does not switch off when the snake dies. It fades slowly on its own clock. The nerves and the muscles that drive a strike can stay live and loaded for a long time after the brain is gone, and the studies and the emergency room reports put that window at up to an hour, sometimes longer, which is a genuinely astonishing amount of time for a dead animal to remain a lethal one. It is why the severed head of a rattlesnake is, if anything, more dangerous than the whole snake. Not less, because a person who has just killed and beheaded a snake feels completely safe and reaches down to move the head, and the head, sensing the heat of the approaching hand, does the last thing it was built to do. That exact scenario puts people in hospitals every single year. The snake is not being vengeful. There is no ghost in it. It is a spring that has not finished uncoiling, and it does not know or care that its owner is dead. The reason almost nobody knows this is that it runs against something very deep in us. We understand death as an off switch. The thing is alive, then it is dead, and dead means finished, means safe, means over. That model is correct for nearly every animal you will ever encounter, and it is fatally wrong for this one. And the gap between what we assume and what is true is exactly wide enough for a person to put their hand into. So when she picked it up, and the warm skin of her hand and wrist passed in front of that head, the head did the one thing it had left in it to do. It struck into her wrist. A full envenomation, every drop from an animal that had been dead for who knows how long, on a slab of red rock 40 miles from the nearest vial of antivenom. She dropped it. She screamed, more shock than pain at first, because the pain has a delay and the delay is a lie. And her friend, the one who said no, did not say "I told you so," did not waste a single second on it, because That is who that person was, and instead did the only useful thing, which was to start moving and to make the phone call that eventually reached me. Let me stop right here and ask you something, because this one is not about snakes. When was the last time you were absolutely certain that a danger was over and acted on that certainty and were wrong? The stove you were sure was off. The intersection you were sure was clear. The thing you were sure was dead. Tell me in the comments, because the whole trap of this story is that she was not careless about a live snake. She was careful about a live snake correctly, and then she decided the danger was finished, and the desert had one more move that she did not know about. In the desert, even death has a reflex. Now, I have to tell you what venom actually does hour by hour, because the clock is the story from here. And because most people picture snakebite completely wrong as a fast, dramatic thing, and it is not fast, and that is the horror of it. A rattlesnake's venom is not a poison in the way people imagine, one clean toxin. It is a complex, evolved cocktail, and it is essentially a digestive fluid. That is what it is for. It is the snake beginning to eat its prey before the prey is even dead, breaking down tissue and blood so the animal can be consumed. And when it goes into a human wrist, it does not know it is in the wrong animal. It just starts doing its job. In the first minutes, the pain arrives, and it is unlike other pain, a deep burning that spreads out from the bite as the venom moves into the tissue. The area begins to swell fast, and that swelling is not a bruise, it is the venom actively destroying the tissue it is passing through, dismantling it. Within the first hour, in a serious envenomation, that swelling can move up an entire limb, and the body starts to respond in ways you can see and ways you cannot. And here is the part specific to where she was standing, because location and temperature are not footnotes in a snakebite, they are the whole prognosis. She was in the desert heat, and heat raises the heart rate and speeds the circulation, and the faster the blood moves, the faster the venom distributes through the body. The same sun that made the day beautiful was accelerating the thing that was killing her. And she was 40 miles from anti-venom on a trail, which means the treatment that actually works. The only thing that actually works, which is anti-venom given in a hospital, was hours away by the fastest possible means. And this is a thing where hours are the units that matter. The venom works on two fronts. It attacks the tissue directly, and it attacks the blood's ability to clot. As the hours pass in a severe untreated case, the body loses the ability to stop bleeding internally in places you cannot see or reach, while the local destruction keeps spreading. The heart is put under enormous strain, the blood pressure falls, and through all of it, the person is awake and aware and in a kind of pain that I am not going to describe in detail, because it does not serve you and it does not honor her, and the desert around them stays exactly as beautiful as it was in the photograph, indifferent, orange, silent. I ran that evacuation. I want to tell you about it plainly because people imagine a helicopter appears and it is fine, and that is not how it goes out there. First, somebody has to reach a signal, and in that country, signal is a rumor. Then a call has to route to the right people, and a location has to be established, a real one, not a trail name, but coordinates, and that alone eats time you do not have. Then something has to physically get there, over distance and terrain that does not care about your emergency, and then it has to get her back out, and then she has to reach a facility that actually stocks the anti-venom in the quantity a bite like this needs, which is not every facility, and every one of those steps has a number attached to it. And when you add the numbers up for a serious envenomation 40 miles out in June, the sum is very often larger than the time the venom gives you. We did everything right. Her friend did everything right, better than most trained people would have. Stayed calm, kept her still, kept the wrist low, got the call out, marked the position, did not do any of the old wrong things. No tourniquet, no cutting, no sucking, none of the movie nonsense that kills people. Everyone in that chain did their job. And it was a race that had started 40 minutes too late. Back at the moment, a warm hand passed in front of a dead snake's head, and you cannot win a race that started at the finish line. I want to say a little more about those wrong things, the tourniquet and the knife in the mouth, because they are their own quiet killer, and this is the one place I can maybe reach somebody before it matters. Everything the movies taught you about snakebite is wrong, and worse than wrong, it is actively harmful. You do not cut the wound, you do not try to suck the venom out, it does not work, and it wastes the only currency you have, which is time. You do not tie off the limb, because concentrating that tissue-destroying venom in one place does not save the person, it just costs them the arm on top of everything else. What actually helps is almost insultingly simple. Keep the person calm, because panic speeds the heart and the heart moves the venom. Keep them still. Keep the bite roughly at the level of the heart. Take off anything that will trap swelling, rings, a watch, a tight sleeve, because that wrist is going to swell in a way that will surprise you. And then get them to anti-venom as fast as is humanly possible, and do not stop for anything, because that, and only that, is the thing that saves lives. Her friend knew all of it. It is the one part of this story where knowledge met the moment. It still was not enough because the distance had already made the decision. She did not survive it. I'm not going to walk you through the end because she was a person and not a lesson, and because the biology I have already given you tells you everything the last moments would, and more gently. It was the venom. It was the distance. It was the heat that sped it all up. And underneath all of those, it was a single belief held by a smart and healthy person on a beautiful morning that a dead thing is a safe thing. If this one taught you something you did not know, then do the small thing that carries it to the next person about to pick something up for a photo. Like this video, so it reaches somebody on a trail instead of in a comment section. Subscribe so you are here for the next one, not for me and not for a number on a screen. Do it so that one more person somewhere sees a dead rattlesnake, understands that dead is not the same as safe, and walks around it exactly the way they would walk around a live one. Here is the whole of it, and it is a strange and specific lesson, but I think it is the truest one this channel has. In the desert, even death has a reflex. That is not a metaphor. It is a fact about a specific animal, and it is also, if you let it be, a warning about a specific human habit, which is the habit of relaxing the instant we decide the threat is finished. Almost nothing that hurts people out here hurts them while they are afraid. It hurts them in the moment right after. The moment they exhale, the moment they lower the guard, the moment they decide it is over and reach out. The live snake she handled perfectly. It was the dead one that killed her, because the dead one was the one she was not afraid of. She was not afraid of it. That is the whole thing. She was afraid of exactly the right animal for exactly the wrong length of time, and the desert lives in that gap. The gap between when a thing stops being scary and when it stops being dangerous. Those two moments are not the same moment. Out here, they can be an hour apart. And an hour, 40 miles from the anti-venom in the June heat, is the difference between a photo you delete and a phone call somebody makes to your family. The photo, by the way, was never worth anything. It never is. Nobody who saw it would have remembered it by the weekend. That is the exchange rate the desert offers on that particular trade, everything for nothing, and it never once tells you the rate before you agree to it. The friend was right. I want to end on that because the friend has to live with this. And the friend was right about every part of it. And being right did not save anyone. And that is the cruelest and most common shape these stories take. Somebody almost always knows. Somebody says, "Do not touch that." The whole difference between the people who go home and the people I evacuate is often just whether they listen to the quietest, least dramatic, most easily overruled voice in the group. The one that says, for no reason it can fully explain, "I do not think you should." Next time, we leave the animals behind for the cold water, where there is no reflex and no venom and nothing that means you any harm at all. And the river takes the strongest person on the boat anyway. Until then, when you are somewhere wild and you find something dead and beautiful and harmless, and every part of you says it is safe now, remember the gap. Remember that scary and dangerous are two different clocks, and out here they do not run together. Do not reach for it. Let even the dead things lie. This has been Doomed Departures. Stay safe, and we will see you on the next one.